Hey everyone. Thank you guys for coming. I know it's very early in the morning, there's rain. We've been drinking last night, some of us, so I really appreciate. I hope you understand that we've been overly ambitious with this and we have a program that starts now and ends at like 3 a.m. I hope you're all gonna stick around for all of it. Just before we get started, a little bit of a logistics, so this is where most of the talks are. The workshops are in the space that's right outside on the right. Unfortunately, we do have a case of a missing person. So Athanasios, that was supposed to do the DIY synth workshop, he's just missing, not answering his phone. We don't know what's happened. He was supposed to fly in from London last night. So it seems like there's not going to be first workshop is not going to happen. The other one, Radomir's one, is on schedule and he's been mobbed by a lot of people already. So feel free to use that other space if you guys want to start working on badge hacking. Just feel free to grab a table over there, and if you want to get just get started early. Yeah, okay. I think that's about it for all the logistics questions. For all the presenters, if you didn't bring your PowerPoint, just bring it to the AV desk over there. All right. Hi. So my name is Aleksandar. My name is Aleksandar Bradic. I write for Hackaday and do a bunch of other stuff for Hackaday. But so my primary day-to-day role is a CTO at a company called Supplyframe. And kind of the easiest way to explain what Supplyframe is really just a whole bunch of super nerdy computer science people, really passionate about electronics. A lot of us have academic or professional backgrounds in electronics. But our kind of core expertise is in software, and what we try to do every day is write software, build tools that really help help people building hardware to the extent that we can, and we kind of hope we can do a lot. So our big mission is something like organizing the world of engineering knowledge and being like a Google of electronics and all that other awesome stuff. We've been around for quite some time, almost 10 years. Almost 10 years now, and we did some fairly interesting things I'm not going to get into. But why are we relevant? Because in the context of this presentation is that you may remember around 3 years ago, our favorite website, Hackaday, came up with an article that says Hackaday is up for sale. And Hackaday has been around for a while, also like 12 years. Started out as a blog on Engadget, and since then had like a really interesting history. But it's the previous owner came to the point where he was kind of stuck, and I think that the way he was thinking about Hackaday was more like a media company or something like that, and he decided to sell it. And we just woke up one morning and we were like, oh my God, like Hackaday is up for sale. Whoever buys it is probably going to ruin it, and why don't we buy it? And it's a little bit weird, like why would a software company buy a blog, a website? But one of our engineers ran to our CEO, who is an amazing guy and is somewhere in this audience. I can't see from all the lights. But, and he convinced him that we should really do this. And we did. And kind of hope. So our core idea was, at the time, Hackaday put up a Kickstarter campaign, an Indiegogo campaign for a community to buy Hackaday. And Brian Benchoff put this elaborate presentation about all the awesome things that they would do with it. And we saw the presentation and it was like, well, this is really cool. Maybe we can help, maybe we can do something about it. And then I kind of, first year was really first year of us acquiring Hackaday. People were like really suspicious, what are you going to do? Are you going to ruin it? So like from the day one, we set a whole bunch of ethical limitations around editorial independence and really trying to do the right thing. And most importantly, because we are all software nerds, electronics nerds, we really understand this space. We really kind of felt that we can do something unique, the kind of things that other people wouldn't do. And 3 years later, I think we did a whole bunch of different stuff. But some of the interesting things that we did. On the day one, obviously, being software people, we said, well, what can we build with software? And then we went out and we built Hackaday.io, which 2 years in has really become for a lot of us just a place where we hang out. And we always wanted to have something that reminds us of like a BBS or something like that. That's very special and it's creation oriented. It's not like Facebook for hackers. It's more, how do we create more like a collaborative online environment for people to, work with other people and meet other people from around the world. And that's been, extremely successful. And, we're kind of continuing to push it. The other part that, I'm personally really proud of is the editorial direction of Hackaday with spearheaded by Mike Stish, our managing editor here somewhere. We really set out, and it's like, oh, it's 2015, 2016, what's big right now? Oh, BuzzFeed and catchy headlines, and the media is dead, and the print is dead, and no one cares about any of this stuff. But we still, we set as a mission to really build a professional journalist-like organization that's trying to do journalism the way it was done in computing in the 80s. In 2015, which is completely ridiculous. And it's not just ridiculous for the outside, for when all the media companies are dying. It's also ridiculous for our community because they're like, oh well, we just want hacks. We don't want Brian Benchoff's crazy rants. We don't want investigative journalist posts. But we're really committed to this, and I think we've kind of come a long way, and we're going to continue pushing that because we kind of believe it's the right thing to do. Another thing that we did, and one thing that you may learn if you talk with us over here, that we don't do a lot of planning. A lot of things that we have done were really spontaneous. We're just like spur of the moment. Why not? We can do this, and all that stuff. And one of the things that came out of like late night drinking in Pasadena, we had this talk about, well, what is, the open hardware, and, people, everyone builds their little project and put it on the shelf, but how do we motivate people to really build something more serious, because for the open hardware to really matter, we need production, product grade, open hardware products that people can build. And, so and at the time, Benchoff came up with this ridiculous idea of like a Hackaday space program, and then we were drinking, and then Flag was like, well, why don't we send someone to space? Would that be an interesting incentive for people? And that's how the Hackaday Prize was. And then we were all just like laughing. And then tomorrow morning, Flag calls me up and he's like, oh, well, we should really do this. We can, figure out the money. So we started the Hackaday Prize really just as one of the ways to give back to the community and really to create a way to motivate people, because we all know how, we all like to procrastinate, and it's people need extra motivation. So, we're doing a Hackaday Prize for our third year now, and it's been growing and growing, and a lot of amazing projects came out of it. And so, we're really happy about it, and we're going to continue pushing it. And especially over the last 2 years, Sophie Kravitz, who's also here, has done an amazing job in really kind of growing it. So yeah, we're going to continue doing that as well. And then another thing that we did also very spontaneously, like last year, Sophie and I were just sitting and being grumpy about how in the US there are no good hardware conferences, because, especially in electronics, everyone is trying to sell you something, so a lot of these are just like very, sales driven, which is fine. The problem is that there are just no more conferences with, deep technical content. And so we were just, being grumpy and, and talking, and oh, why don't we do a conference? And Sophie was like, yeah, it should be a super conference. And so basically that was like end of September, and then we were like, oh, when should we do it? And oh, why don't we do it at the end of the Hackaday Prize in November? So we sent out a call for papers, and 2 months later there was a huge conference, and it was a great success. And people were like, "You're just insane trying to pull a conference in like that short of a time frame." But it turned out to be amazing. So we really like that. And then somehow we're here now. We're like, oh, why don't we do a conference in Belgrade? And I'll explain how did we get there. But basically, at some point in January, we put out a post that says, oh, we're doing a conference in Europe, and it's going to be in Belgrade, and it's going to be awesome. And then Hackaday comments. People are like, oh, Spain has the weather, the people in the fiesta. Well, we don't have that, and weather sucks. And then so like people are immediately like, why Belgrade? Why not this? Why not that? But that's fine. We're still here, and you guys all show up, and we really appreciate that. How we really got there was pretty funny. Is we did the SuperCon, and it was amazing, and Belgrade is very convenient for us. I'm personally for Belgrade. We have an engineering team here. Some of the really core developers at Supplyframe, work here in the Belgrade office. So obviously that was easy. A lot of them traveled to US. But then when we did the SuperCon, no one from Belgrade was there. So this amazing guy, Bill K, our lead sysops guy, who's sick today and couldn't come, was like really bummed out. He's like, oh, he called me and he was like, why didn't you call me to go to this conference? It was so amazing. He was kind of bummed out. And then Sophie, from the day one when she joined, she was like, oh, Belgrade, how exciting. I want to go to Belgrade. So we were just like talking, and then And then we're like, oh, well, Sophie, maybe you can come to Belgrade and maybe we can do a little meetup. Like that's really how this thing happened. We just wanted to have a small meetup, like a bar. And then Stish was like, oh, I heard, we're going to Belgrade. Can I come? And then we sent, this Bilke who was here in Belgrade, like, oh, well, can you go find the venue? And then somehow we were joking about like this space because this is a legendary space for us. It's like a Belgrade youth center. A lot of events really important for us were happening in this space. The first Linux conferences were happening here. A lot of demo scene events were happening here. And I was just jokingly like asking like, oh, can you go and ask how much would it cost to rent this venue? And then he went here and the price was like really? Only the San Francisco events are like super expensive. So we're like, oh, why don't we do it there? And then he was like, well, who's gonna talk? And because like Serbia is not a huge country, there's not a massive scene. And then we said, well, why don't we put a call out on Hackaday and then maybe someone would apply, maybe from like, Bulgaria or Croatia or something like that. And then, so we get some speakers. And then 2 days later, we had like 50 talk proposals. And it was like, oh my God, like this is gonna be a thing. So we just, kind of decided to really throw an event. And, it may be funny, but it's been 3 months. This is our, best planned event yet. Like 3 months for us is too long. We planned like in weeks. So we're all here and you're there at the end of this. So that's how this happened. But why Belgrade? Okay, so great, you guys love Hackaday and I think, the weirdest part is that we started with like, let's put our tickets on Eventbrite and and maybe some people are gonna buy it, but then we're gonna put local tickets for like Serbian audience. It turns out that like Serbian audience doesn't really have Western credit cards, and Eventbrite apparently doesn't even take Visa Electron, which is what we learned later. So, but we sold out more than half of the tickets within the first couple of days, and pretty much at the end, over half of people here, came from outside of Serbia. It just towards the end, there were not enough tickets left to sell to the local audience. But some people, figured a way out, and so I really applaud everyone. They really made an effort here. But the question is, why Belgrade? Do you guys love Hackaday? You came here to hang out with Sophie, Stish, and like other people, and socialize with your community. And a number of people would go anywhere for Hackaday. But why did we drag you to Belgrade? What's so special about this area? And I think the theme here is not Belgrade itself. Is that we're trying to make a point that the local cultures matter. Obviously, Belgrade is the closest to us, and it's given, Hackaday has several people working on Hackaday live or have lived in Belgrade, and a lot of our local culture is influencing some of the editorial direction. But the point is that the local cultures matters, and the computing culture that has evolved here in Serbia is really weird and unique, and like in a lot of countries in Europe, as opposed to maybe US where it's more, a one uniform culture. So if you think about computing in Serbia and the way it started in the 80s, it's really started out as a mix of this magazine called The World of Computers that was trying to be like a Yugoslavian Byte magazine. That was the idea, but then there's somewhere along the way it crossbred with this like bizarre Italian comic called Alan Ford, which is just like this wacky, it's really weird. It's hard to explain it and not many people get it, but like that kind of a bizarre graphic novel culture, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and like a lot of other things that were happening here, like demo scene and things like that. And as a result of this, there's this, like a really weird and unique culture. And some of that we are also trying to, some of that weirdness we are trying to bring to Hackaday as well, along with other types of weirdness like Brian Benchoff's Hunter Thompson-esque style and other things as well. But other cultures in Europe, other countries have their own flavors of computing, and it's like these things are very important to cultivate and build on, because we don't all just want to be on Facebook and like do one same thing. This is really important. But another thing that really makes Belgrade very relevant for Hackaday is that a year ago, this guy over here, Chris Gamble, who runs Empower with Dave Jones, he was visiting Belgrade, and so he asked us like, oh well, who's famous around here? Who can I interview for the Empower? And we immediately said, oh, there's this guy, Voja Antonić, he's a big deal, and he built this computer in the 80s, and he was part of that, the world of computers, and like that whole, weird computing cultures in the 80s. You also need to understand that this was a socialist country, and computing was not, a lot of concepts were just independently reinvented here just because people had no access to information. And he was one of the guys that really defined that culture. So we were like, oh, it's Voja, you have to meet this guy. And none of us knew him, we were much younger. But somehow we found his number, telephone, people still use that. And then eventually he came to our office for Chris to interview him, and we started talking. And he didn't know about Hackaday, but we kind of explained to him everything that we were doing, what we were up to, and he was really excited. And then a couple of months later, he actually started writing for Hackaday. And some of the most unique articles out there have been written by him, and he posted a lot of projects on Hackaday.io, and also some of the other heroes from the 80s, jumped in with some illustration for Voja's pieces, and I was really proud of that. And then, so we floated to the Voja the idea of, like, oh, well, we may do this conference. And then Voja was like, oh, well, let's do a badge. So, the badge that all of you guys have, and a lot of other weirdness. There are some crypto puzzles and a bunch of other stuff around the conference. It's all Voja's. So, that was really important for us. And that's really why, why we feel Belgrade is kind of special for us, because, we are continuing to bring some of that culture into the editorial direction of Hackaday. And really the point of this event is not to promote Belgrade, but it's just to call everyone to really dig deeper into like their unique local heritage, as well as like local history, and then see how these things can influence what's kind of been happening today, especially in the domain of harder projects. We all need like inspiration for creativity. So hopefully, maybe next year this event is going to be held somewhere else in Europe. But as opposed to Belgrade, where we have a lot of people, we are going to need someone's help. So if this is interesting to you guys, please let us know. Finally, there's nothing new under the sun. I just want to point out one thing that, the posters and the art and everything, they did for this conference is actually not unique. It's not original. Like, this is a poster for the art show in Zagreb, in Croatia, in 1969. And so there was this like computing art movement that was primarily based in Croatia, but also with a lot of people from Belgrade participating, called Bit International. And they did some of the amazing things. So we just wanted to honor. A lot of times we just make some blinky thing and we're like, oh, well, I'm genius. No one has ever done that. Then you discover that people did these kinds of things in way before. And we should sort of explore that and build on that. Yeah. So like with that, that's really all I just kind of wanted to, it's very hand wavy, but all I wanted to say as an introduction of why are we here and what are we trying to accomplish. A bunch of other things really contributed. I just also want to give my thanks to some of the other people that really helped organize this conference. Obviously, we know a lot of people, but also getting sponsors was very easy. A number of us here come from what I call a Vast Mafia. Vast was this like internet startup that started here in Belgrade, and then I went on to work somewhere else, and another guy went to found this other company called Seven Bridges. So we just called a couple of friends and we organized pretty much everything that's kind of happening here, the food and all of that. We have to thank our sponsors for that. And I think just a little bit on the agenda today. It's really, so we really, once we discovered that people are going to show up, and a lot of people are going to show up from outside of Serbia, we really try to put on an event that's very ambitious. So we start now with a lot of talks. We have a break at 1 for lunch. There's a break in the afternoon for like cocktails. There's a break afterwards for dinner, and then at I think 9:30 we have concerts. And we have two bands. We have two bands playing here. One is it's kind of bizarre. The first band is actually, so all the bands are all engineers. So like the first band is actually all engineers from the company Seven Bridges, and then and the other band is it's like actually a big deal band in Serbia called T. So all of these things are going to go until midnight, and just please stick around and just honor engineers. So actually the first band started as engineering in-house band for Seven Bridges. So give them some slack. It's their first big concert, and then at midnight. So a lot of people are going to show up at 9 because we're going to open it for the concerts. But in the meantime, you can either hang out at the concerts and work on your badges and just try to do something. And then at midnight, we're going to do presentations. We're going to do like a old school demo scene style compa, where we're going to showcase everything you created in your badges. There's going to be some prizes and stuff like that. We also created an emulator so that other people from around the web can contribute their things. So even if you don't feel like you're qualified in winning some of these things, please try to participate in badge hacking because it's just a great learning experience. And then after that, like 1 a.m. or so, there's going to be a DJ, and we can stay for as long as we want. So please stick around. And once again, thank you all for coming. And especially to everyone that flew or took a train or whatever from all parts of Europe. I heard there are some people that came even further away. We really appreciate it, and hope you'll have a fun time here today. Thank you.